Welcome to All the Right Marketing, where we talk with business owners and industry leaders about their programs and their products and how do they get the word out there through marketing. Our guests share tips that can help anyone who loves a book, whether you are an aspiring writer, a librarian, a bookseller, author, or publisher. The truth of the matter here is that the advice coming out of these creative conversations are for anyone across creative industries. Today, we have a guest named Kenneth Kraegel, who writes and illustrates picture books in Grand Rapids, Michigan. His sixth book is going to be arriving October 2022. We are recording this in August. Welcome, Kenneth.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so nice to have you here today. And I'm just going to start off. We love to hear about the author's journey and what kind of habits in reading and writing did you have as a child? What led you to this? And I hope that you will include your journey as a vegetable farmer as well. That is awesome.
Yeah, well, I was a pretty average reader as a kid. I like to read biographies. I didn't read a lot, but I read biographies and like Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, those kind of things.
I was going to say, is there one that stuck out for you? Maybe Henry Ford?
Yeah, I read a lot of Henry Ford biographies. So, and then I continue to read. I wouldn't say I'm a voracious reader. My son is a voracious reader. He's 11 and he just plows through books after books after books. So
that's awesome.
That's pretty cool to see. I do have a part-time job where I work with kids with dyslexia and other reading challenges. So I kind of see the other side of the spectrum where I see, the pain and agony that kids go through when it's just not clicking the right way in their brain. And so I see the full spectrum. Okay, and then so the vegetable farmer thing, before I always wanted to be an author illustrator of picture books, but there was a brief interlude there where I decided I wanted to be a vegetable farmer during the day and a picture book author at night. And so I interned at a farm and I studied, and then we bought a farm in Indiana and I gave it a shot. But interestingly, for the subject of this podcast, my failure was in marketing. I could grow beautiful vegetables, and I had the whole system down, but I'm just not a natural marketer at all. And so that's kind of where I fell short. So then I came back to pursuing the picture book thing full tilt, and eventually got some traction and started making picture books.
You did. And tell me, what was the first picture book that came out for you? And when did that take place?
It came out in 2012. It was King Arthur's Very Great Grandson.
So with King Arthur's book, how would you describe being able to market the book? Because here's the deal. The truth of the matter is author illustrator types, it's not in our natural instinct to market ourselves. We want to be part of the creative process. We don't want to be part of selling and sharing our brand. But to sell books, that does have to be part of it. So what would you say has been your strategy? Maybe part of your strategy that did work, maybe something that didn't work?
Yeah, well, that's been a sort of an ongoing question for me because I just have no aptitude or interest in marketing. But I published with a publishing company with Candlewick Press, and so fortunately they kind of had the mechanisms in place that they could just plug me into. So they arrange a little book tour, and they get some interviews with blogs and that kind of thing. And I kind of leave it to them to do it. And then whenever an opportunity arises like this podcast, I just say yes.
Now, I think that your answer is similar to what a lot of author illustrators would provide, but I'm playing devil's advocate because I do think that you are doing some subtle marketing, which probably feels to you like, well, I'm not really marketing at all. Because I do see every now and then your artwork shared online, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm trying to think if it was Instagram. Is it Instagram? Let me
I
see.
do have an Instagram account. Yeah. Yeah.
Which
So what I do with
Instagram is
that is
very
I just,
visual, right?
yeah, yes. So uh, I I have Facebook and Instagram, and Facebook I just put news on, so events and news about books. And then with Instagram, I don't really like Facebook, but I love Instagram because, like you said, it's visual. And so what I do with that is I just when I'm making an illustration, a lot of times I have to like figure something out, make little studies. And so I've started doing those studies in squares, in small squares that I can later post to Instagram. So they're not like finished illustrations, but it's just sort of a collection of my illustration studies. And that's just kind of a fun way. And then I can share, a few other things too. But it took me a while to figure out how to use it. And I realized the way to use it was the only way to do it is if I think it's fun. And so,
Yes,
so
yes.
doing it with Instagram and posting my little preliminary drawings, that's fun to me.
I think also you have to be comfortable with what you're sharing. If it feels outside of your values and if it feels outside of your comfort zone. I mean, we always encourage people to, subtly go outside of their comfort zone, but I think you like, as part of your values, you don't want to be out there, buy my book, buy my book. So by sharing part of your process, you're getting people
Right.
to see who you are, to get to know and like and trust your process. So see, that wasn't too hard, was it? Devil's advocate. Like, you were nervous when I said that, weren't you?
I was, yeah. It's the subject I like the least is marketing.
Another way that I see, I'm like telling you how you're marketing. This
All
is
right, keep
how
going,
we
keep
do
going.
it. Another way I see you marketing is, I know that you've done school visits. Are you getting back into that? I know with the pandemic, we're kind of, I don't want to say we're post-pandemic, but we're kind of like changing into a new normal. So tell us a little bit about your journey with school visits.
Yeah, I love school visits. They're a lot of fun. Yeah, and I was able to do a few in-person visits this last spring, and it was great. It's just it's so much fun, and I like the in-person thing because you just get that energy from the kids.
And what would
So
you say, how many students would you say on average are in one, assembly?
Um, let's see. Usually like maybe 60 to up to 300. It kind of depends on how the school does it. Sometimes they'll put like all the first graders and kindergartners together, and if it's a big school, it can be a lot of kids. But the great thing about little kids is you can fit a lot of them into a small space.
You sure
It's
can.
always
So
funny when they say there were 300 kindergartners there, and I think, wow, that's a lot of people in a small space.
it really is. But if you think about it, that's 300 individuals who got to see your process, your creative process in writing, your creative process in illustration, and who really got to connect with you as a writer. And so that in itself is also marketing, because those little human beings can then request your book at the library. They can go home, tell their mom and dad, their family members. So I think it's important, and that's why I love interviewing authors and illustrators. We had Kelly DiPuccio on last week. And I
Mhm.
think it's really important to point out that marketing doesn't have to always look like social media posts and paying a publicist and being part of this and that. So I appreciate that. Now, you are a special human being that we have on the podcast today because you do both. You write and you
Right.
illustrate. So can you share a little bit about that really cool process? Maybe a little bit about like where you work or when you work or where you get your ideas.
Yeah, so I do my illustrations, and I do them here. I'm in my studio. It's a small studio in the basement of my house, and I think that the illustrating part is, I think as we're talking about marketing, that's where I've learned to kind of lean into, because like you were saying, it's good to speak out of your comfort zone, kind of, or like where you're comfortable. And so that's where I spend all my time. And so I love talking when I'm at school visits or speaking to other groups. If I talk about my illustration, I'm very comfortable, just because I spend all my time there. So, so anyway, I make my, I do watercolor and ink illustrations, and I'm self-taught. So it's been a process learning, and I'm still learning. Just before I jumped onto Zoom here, I was working on an illustration. So, and I love it. That for me, the writing and the illustrating go hand in hand. It's hard for me to write without doing sketching. So I kind of use a storyboard and sketch and write as I go. That's my general process.
And do you pitch, when you're pitching a new story, do you pitch both your writing and the illustrations?
Yes. Yeah. So I send what's called a book dummy in, and it used to be like an actual paper book that I would make and send it. And now I just send a PDF that I lay out in InDesign. And so I have the words and the sketches, and that way the editor can see she can see the full like idea. And I also sometimes have, I should say, I usually have 2 or 3 finished illustrations, so full color illustrations. So then that also shows what the book will look like.
Amazing. So you have your, I believe it's your 6th book coming out in a few months. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's called Mushroom Lullaby, and it's a going to bed book. So the idea is it kind of starts out with some interest and like activity, and then it just gradually slows down into a peaceful good night kind of vibe.
That's really cool. And mushrooms, we've been seeing a lot of mushrooms around, so I feel like that is a nice timely topic. And it just seems like I keep thinking of the Smurf mushrooms, right? They're like red.
Oh, yeah.
And you start seeing them, you see them on like magnets and stickers now. And so that's really neat. And what publishing company is that with?
This is with Candlewick Press.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. So you've had 6 published books, and are there some in the works as well? You don't have to tell us too many details, but
okay.
I know that most creatives are always working on something new.
Yeah. So the next one that comes out will be, I'm doing sort of a little mini series of 2 or 3, I think it'll be 3 books, 3 good night books, bedtime books. And they won't have the same characters or anything like that, but they'll all have the same idea of kind of de-escalating, quieting down. And then I have another one that's just a standalone book coming out too.
That's wonderful. You are busy. You are busy.
I am, yeah.
That is awesome. Well, we have all of your details that we will include in the show notes, your Instagram, your Facebook, and your website as well, where I'm sure people can probably find out more for booking you for school visits. Yeah, is that?
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for having the time to meet with me. We are recording this in the summer of Michigan, which is always a busy time, but I'm glad that you found this spot for us to have this conversation. Thank you so much, Kenneth.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Excellent. Have a great day.